Hey everyone! Today we're going to be doing another read through, which I'm going to be doing more often on this channel, and we're going to be reading through a book that really inspired Tete's 70 Fierce Years, which is her story about Andrei, the Don Cossack. So this is Mikhaïl Sholokhov's And Quiet Flows the Dawn, and some people say it is comparable to War and Peace. It's basically a story about the Russian Civil War and how it affects the lives of a bunch of Cossacks. And I'm going to be rereading a bit of chapter 1 and the first part of part 1's chapter 1, which is peace. So we're going to be going through just a bit of it because chapter 1 is not very long, but it's still pretty in depth. So I'll just be picking up parts of chapter 1 to read out loud to you so you can get a feel of how the writing style is like. And you can look forward to reading Tete's 70 Fierce Years, which is written in a similar style. So here it is, Peace, chapter 1. And this chapter 1 lays out the foundation of the Melikov family, which is the main family covered in this novel. So we see the origins of the Melikov family and how they began. So Peace, Chapter 1. The Melikov farm was right at the end of Tatarsk village. The gates of the cattle yard opened northward towards the Don. A steep 60-foot slope between chalky, grass-grown banks, hi Tete, and there was the shore. A pearly drift of mussel shells, a gray broken edging of shingle, and then the steely blue rippling surface of the Don, seething beneath the wind. To the east, beyond the willow-wattle fence of the threshing floor, was the hetman's highway, grayish, wormwood scrub, vivid brown, hoof-trodden knotgrass, a shrine standing at the fork of the road, and then the steppe, enveloped in a shifting mirage. To the south, a chalky range of hills. On the west, the streets, crossing the square and running towards the Lees. Thanks for joining Spooky Podcast. We're just reading through a book that influenced my co-host Tete DePunk a lot because she is also writing a book about Cossacks. And this is one of the most, well-known books about Cossacks. The Cossack, Prokofy Melikov, returned to the village during the last war with Turkey. He brought back a wife, a little woman wrapped from head to foot in a shawl. She kept her face covered and rarely revealed her yearning eyes. The silken shawl was redolent of strange, aromantic perfumes. Its rainbow-hued patterns aroused the jealousy of the peasant woman. The captive Turkish women did not get on well with Prokofy's relations, and before long, old Melikov gave his son his portion. The old man never got over the disgrace of the separation. In all his life, he refused to set foot inside his son's hut. Prokofy speedily made shift for himself. Carpenters built him a hut. He himself fenced in the cattle yard, and in the early autumn he took his bowed foreign wife to her new home. He walked with her through the village, behind the cart laden with their worldly goods. Everybody from the oldest to the youngest rushed to the street. The Cossacks laughed discreetly into their beards. The women passed vociferous remarks to one another. A swarm of unwashed Cossack lads called after Prokofy. But with overcoat unbuttoned, he walked slowly along as though over newly plowed furrows, squeezing his wife's fragile wrist in his own enormous, swarthy palm, defiantly baring his lint-white, unkempt head. Only the wens below his cheekbones swelled and quivered, and the sweat stood out between his stony brows. Thenceforth, he went but rarely into the village and was never to be seen even at the market. He lived a secluded life in his solitary hut by the Don. Strange stories began to be told of him in the village. The boys who pastured the calves beyond the meadow road declared that of an evening, As the light was dying, they had seen Prokofy carrying his wife in his arms as far as the Tartar mound. He would seat her, with her back to an ancient, weather-beaten, porous rock on the crest of the mound. He would sit down at her side, and they would gaze fixedly across the steppe. They would gaze until the sunset had faded, and then Prokofy would wrap his wife in his coat and carry her back home. The village was lost in conjecture, seeking an explanation for such astonishing behavior. The women gossiped so much that they had no time to hunt for their fleas. Rumor was rife about Prokofy's wife also. Some declared that she was of entrancing beauty, others maintained the contrary. The matter was set at rest when one of the most venturesome of the women, the soldier's wife Mora, ran to Prokofy on the pretext of getting some leaven. Prokofy crawled into the cellar for the leaven, and Mora had time to notice that Prokofy's Turkish conquest was a perfect fright. A few minutes later, Mora, her face flushed and her kerchief awry, was entertaining a crowd of women in a by-lane. And what could he had seen in her, my dears? If only she had been a woman, but she's got no bottom or belly. It's a disgrace. We've got better-looking girls going begging for a husband. You could cut through her waist. She's just like a wasp. Little eyes, black and strong. She flashes with them like Satan. God forgive me. She must be near her time. God's truth. Near her time? The women marveled. I'm no babe. I've reared 3 myself. But what's her face like? Her face? Yellow. Unhappy eyes. It's no easy life for a woman in a strange land. And what is more, women, she wears Prokofy's trousers. No! The women drew their breath in abrupt alarm. I saw them myself. She wears trousers, only without stripes. It must be his everyday trousers she has. She wears a long shift, and below it you can see the trousers stuffed into socks. When I saw them, my blood ran cold. The whisper went around that Prokofy's wife was a witch. Astakov's daughter-in-law, the Astakovs lived in the hut next to Prokofy's, swore that on the second day of Trinity, before dawn, she saw Prokofy's wife, straight-haired and barefoot, milking the Astakov's cow. From that day, the cow's udder withered to the size of a child's fist. She gave no more milk and died soon after. So yeah, this is what the first part of chapter 1 of Peace is like, and it introduces the beginnings of the Melikov family. These characters, the Turkish wife and Prokofy, they will not really be referenced in the novel, and they are not the focus of the novel. It's their descendants, such as Gregor in particular, who are the focus. And we will be following Gregor as he falls in love with Aksinia, who is already married to someone he knows called Stepan, and how he fares throughout the Russian Civil War. So Gregor, I think in many ways, follows a similar path to Tete de Punk's Andrei. They both go through a time of peace, which is before the Russian Civil War, and then they go through war itself. And then after that, there's other events that happen as a result of the war. So yeah, I will be doing more readings of And Quiet Flows the Dawn as the weeks progress and we learn more about Tete de Punk's 70 Fierce Years. Exactly, and everyone was losing it over some salvar, all because she was wearing her outfit and her trousers. Yeah, a lot of rumors just came out of nowhere just because she was different and she dressed differently, and I guess people were thinking about the, quotes, strange effect that she had on Prokofy. But, in retrospect, how strange was that? They were just, looking at nature together, but people were just really suspicious. So, yes, stay tuned for more readings. In addition to And Quiet Flows the Dawn and Lucky Wolf, which I read yesterday, I will also be reading other books that we have reviewed on this channel, such as Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth, American Pastoral by Philip Roth, which I will be revealing because I didn't do it, and Operation Shylock and Sabbath Theater by Philip Roth, and some other books that we have talked about. I may also be reading up parts of Morris by E.M. Forrester and some other books as well. So thank you for joining. And yes, thank you, Tete de Punk. I'm glad that you thought this was boss. And, stay tuned for more readings. Bye.